Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us continue with the Bureau Attendant. This is the Bureau of the Architect, little one. If you require assistance, I should be glad to assist you. But are you certain this is where you should be? Oh yeah, so direct comparison. Obviously, Valvedrix is in a Magitek armor, which isn't even as tall as these guys, but look at this. Now, I'm not as tall as it's possible to be. You could be a few inches taller than me. But, like, just look. Look at this. Height comparison. This must be what Lalafels feel like. It's your first time here? Take a number if you haven't already, then settle in for a good long wait. Oh god, a people who don't age, who can craft things from thin air, probably have a lot of patience. Imagine how slow their DMV must be. Aw, that sucks, Mashiach. I'm sorry. One moment, please. Imagine how slow their food delivery is. Welcome to the Bureau of the Architect, little one. I should be happy to assist you in locating the concept you seek after I've finished assisting those ahead of you in the queue. You're all so helpful. And yes, any books I can read, any wikis I can read, any personal physical books I have, like for example for the Zelda lore run, I actually have the encyclopedia, and it's by my desk because I've been reading it actively in preparation for whatever we're going to do for the Zelda run. Speaking of which, we do still have that vote active on the off chance you have not voted yet. It's probably unlikely because we're up to like 200 votes. That's most of my active viewers, but still. An audience with Emmett Selk? I'm afraid you have the wrong office, little one. Besides, he'll be far too busy to field questions of curious children. Surely you've been told of the looming catastrophe. No, I haven't. I really wish you would tell me about it. Every resource available to the Convocation must be spent on ensuring our world survives. They have yet to make an official announcement, but it said the 14 are moving forward with a plan of scarce credible proportions, one which promises to grant will to the very star itself. They will invoke our mightiest spells of creation to birth an entity of all-encompassing magnificence, and then they will rewrite the laws of existence. 'Tis a huge undertaking, and it must be completed ere the corruption spread this far. Thus I say to you again, do not hold out hope for an audience. I have no idea who this person is. It's a Vieira with a Magitek armor, who must die. I wish I had tacos for breakfast. I would say this is more an example of holodeck filters in action. So I've talked about this concept many times in Star Trek, but for those of you who don't watch Star Trek, in the holodeck in Star Trek, there's this concept called perception filters, which makes it so that they will see things that don't make sense for the character through a filter, so they basically translate everything that they're perceiving. So if you, in a Starfleet uniform, walk up to, a cowboy in a cowboy program, they'll just be like, those are some funny clothes, and they won't think twice about it, because they just think you look funny. That's it. Basically, I think the same thing's happening here. These constructs are looking at us through a perception filter and being like, yeah, they're just kids. They have to translate it through the filter, in other words. Good gracious, child, where is your family? You should not be alone at a time like this. Run along home, quickly now. Have you not heard? Though yet confined to the lands across the sea, a terrible phenomenon affects our planet. They're calling it the final days. 'Tis said it starts suddenly, a cacophonous keening from beneath the earth. The sound distorts all living things within earshot and wrests from us control of our creation magics. Once that happens, all is lost. Fear, pain, despair, every dread impulse is siphoned from our minds and given substance. An eternal fall of fiery rain and incessant spawning of nightmarish beasts. None can point to the source of the phenomenon. 'Tis as if the star itself has fallen, excuse me, the planet itself has fallen ill, as if a force inimical to life now festers and spreads. 'Tis only a matter of time until Amarat, too, resounds to that discordant squall. You should stay with your loved ones, child. Stay with them. Hang on. Hang on. One moment. I need to look up a movie. Just give me a second. Forbidden Planet. Anyone ever see Forbidden Planet? No, no hugs! Seriously though, has anyone here seen Forbidden Planet? It's a much older film. Like 70s sci-fi. Good movie though, in my opinion. Yeah, it's surprisingly good for the age. It really is. 50s, excuse me. Older than I thought. Well, all I'm going to say is that this reminds me a lot of Forbidden Planet. One can never be too young to take an interest in the rhetorical arts. Welcome, little one, welcome. I have so many questions. They live forever. How do they have children? Do they have biological processes at all? Do they need food, or do they drink fully from the ether? How may I help you, little one? Do you wish to peruse the transcripts of the great debates? Or would you like to reserve a room for discussion? We are here to serve your needs. Twould seem the hall is host to a most precocious visitor this day. And what, pray tell, may be the subject of our discussion, young one? Ah, the convocation and their handling of the coming peril. 'Tis only natural you should have questions. Shall we begin with the members themselves? As all know, the 14 are the wisest and most puissant among us, which I never remember how to pronounce that word. They are the stewards of order, responsible for decisions which keep this planet turning season after season. Be it the speaker, La Habrea, or the emissary, Elidibus, each seat is occupied by an elected sage of surpassing intellect. Logrif, Mitron, Emetselk, their individual titles have, as a gesture of respect and a matter of tradition, become synonymous with their incumbents. Thus it is with great incredulity that I greet this recent rumor that a seat in the convocation is soon to be left vacant. If proven true, 'twould be an unprecedented development, and testament to the immense pressure under which our saviors are toiling. In any event, I for one am confident they shall deliver our planet unto salvation. Fade, fade, fade. Alright, so I did see your question, Adam, but I wanted to be done reading before I got to it. Now, I'm a weirdo. And I personally tend to prefer subscription MMOs to free-to-play MMOs. If you don't understand why, the answer is very simple. A subscription MMO will almost universally be better. Better polished, better content, better, just better, right? Now, obviously that doesn't mean free-to-play MMOs are all crap, but they, by definition, labor under a completely different economic model, which means they have to be far more precise about how exactly they use their funding. To wit, I love playing Star Trek Online, but it's kind of a crap game, if we're being completely honest with ourselves. It is salvaged by virtue of the extremely awesome storytelling and the presentation of the story and the content and the mythos and the themes, and basically all 6 points of the story axis are phenomenal, and I happen to really enjoy the spaceship combat. Now, that being stated, at this point in time, there are only really 2 subscription MMOs, FF14 and World of Warcraft. And both of them have issues, as I've talked about before. Nevertheless, if you are interested in trying a subscription-based MMO, it's worth noting that both of the 2 I just mentioned do have a trial. Now, both of those trials suck. They're not really indicative, because the FF14 trial, if I'm not mistaken, goes up to 35, and the WoW trial goes up to 20. So, neither of those are really indicative of the game in question. However, they will give you an idea of how the core gameplay loop functions. So my best advice is to go ahead and try the trial for both. See how it feels to play, literally how it feels to run around and use abilities and be like, or and then to interact with someone, Just feel how it feels to you, and then decide based on that. Well, that was an experience. I was never very fond of being treated like a child, but it did make asking questions less suspicious. I have played the Neverwinter MMO. The only reason I don't talk about it much is Pax and I put it on hold, because we go through stuff together. So I haven't actually beaten the Neverwinter MMO, unlike the Star Trek Online MMO, which I have beaten. I've seen all the content in that game. Lure, if I was not certain before, then I am now. The people of the city believe they face the end of the world. I cannot imagine what purpose compelled Emmett Selk to recreate this ancient Amarot. Really? You can't imagine being homesick. You can't imagine... Jesus Christ, Alphino. I fancy his words echoing to us through this ocean trench. He would have his story known. Well, yeah. It was Quick Arm, I believe. Okay. We're going to go do side quests before we progress. OP isn't the word I'd use there, Adam. That would actually be a bad thing. They would face population problems very quickly. I must say, little one, those garments you're wearing, they are your own original concepts, I take it? Clearly they must be, given their rather singular flamboyance. I would never dream of stifling a fledgling creator's creativity, but to parade around in your cultivated individuality is hardly praiseworthy. An Emirotine of characters shares their creations with the community. They do not hoard them for their use alone. To delight in disparity is a mark of morally deficient. Disparity engenders feelings of want and resentment, which degrade the bonds of fellowship. Thus do we encourage creators to share and share alike, else we risk enkindling the embers of covetousness and violence that ever smolder in the hearts of all. Therefore I must implore you, little one, cast aside your original trappings, and don the communal robes, that you might acquit yourself as an equal among many. In so doing you will be afforded greater respect and autonomy. And then you'll have to sneeze. Worry not, for this will be a simple affair. I recall seeing a gentle soul outside the Hall of Rhetoric, carrying robes perfectly suited to one of your diminutive stature. I'm sure they'll be glad to share your wealth with you. But do hurry, little one. The eyes of the collective are ever watching and weighing your worth. Abandoned quest. Switch classes. Give me some names, Dakota, because I'm curious. Like, if they mention ESO, that's pulling it technically at that point. See, there's several MMOs you can subscribe to that do not require a subscription. Tor is another one. Oh, aren't we looking rather smart this day? What can I do for you, little one? But does Tor deserve it, Omega Legion? Robes to serve in lieu of your ensemble? Oh, how prudent. Alas, I have nothing I can offer you at this present time. The ones your associate saw me carrying earlier were a failed experiment. I never intended to make them so small, so I disposed of them shortly thereafter. Failed experiment? Hey, Maria. By your bemused expression, I gather you find it odd your elders can fail in so simple an application of creation magics. It is more common than you may realize, little one. In this instance, a gaggle of children was passing by as I held the image of the robes in my mind's eye. Simply by becoming aware of their presence was the form influenced and the final product changed. All things considered, it could have been worse. Just the other day I was attempting to conceive a white-haired lion, when all of a sudden this exquisite eagle alighted on the nearby railing, giving me quite the shock, and dramatically altered my original concept. Really? A lion with wings. Yes, indeed, it was a most unexpected development, but not an altogether unwelcome one. Great strides are often born from unexpected impulses. But even inspiration has its limits. For all the wonders we have wrought, I do wonder if there will come a time when we will fully explore the potential of our powers, when there's truly nothing left unmade, and the only iteration and imitation and stagnation remain. But such esoteric matters need not concern you, little one. For now, I encourage you to embrace your creativity and work your magics without fear of failure. Nevertheless, it would still be appropriate and in your best interest to don the robes to avoid excess scrutiny. Why don't you go to the Bureau of the Architect, request the appropriate concept, so you can fashion one yourself. I find this culture fascinating. I really do. They're a singularly welcoming people who simultaneously preach equality and lack of individuality without pushing in the direction that would usually go. Like, that is fascinating. And of course, there are people who can just weave, to use my own terminology. They can just weave things into existence. And as Amashiat just pointed out in chat, they tend to just de-weave things rather than repurpose them or try to fix them. Whoop, failed. Try again. So if I could only pick one class to play long-term in FF14, what would I pick? Well, funnily enough, the answer of that is I have no idea. I don't know what the classes feel like at 80. And that would be such an arduous task that is unlikely to happen. Although, when I start working on YouTube again, who knows? I mean, we have to go to the Bureau to request concepts, so that basically blueprints, so that we can craft them. Think about that. Just... Welcome to the Bureau of the Architect, little one. Are you here to request a concept for personal use? If so, what concept did you have in mind? Ah, Communal Robes. This will take but a moment to prepare, but before I fully request, I should caution you. Pardon me for asking, but your creative potential is relatively low, is it not? We are trained to assess these things, and I fear you do not possess the ability to express this concept in physical form. It's almost as though you completely lack it, although that can't possibly be. But regardless of the reason, you needn't worry. We have special tools that may be used to address this very eventuality. I will furnish you with an etheric robe you can use to restrain one of the misbegotten cubists that congregate in the plaza north of the Academia Eniter. You will need to weaken your quarry before you can reliably bind them, but once you have, you can repurpose their energies to create your robes. Oh my god. So this is kind of a logical byproduct of a setting in which everything is made of the same building block. Greetings and welcome to the Bureau of the Architect. Are you in need of assistance? It would be my pleasure to answer the questions you might have. To your left is the counter where you may submit registrations for new creations. To your right, you'll find the counter where you may requisition concepts on file. Am I correct in assuming you're not familiar with these services I provide? I see. A more detailed explanation is in order, then. You understand that by harnessing the powers of creation, we can give physical form to all manner of concepts, yes? Oh yeah, I got that idea. Picture a bouquet of fresh, fragrant flowers, all the colors of the rainbow. Now picture those self-same flowers formed of delicate crystal, impossibly fragile, and radiating hues beyond the visual spectrum. Every day our people push the boundaries of imagination to conceive new and striking designs like these. But there are limits to what a single individual can shape with their abilities alone. Those who harbor greater ambitions may offer their concepts to others here. that they may, with the strength of many, accomplish with one may not. Not all concepts are approved for wider distribution, of course. Dangerous subversive creations pose a risk to everyone, and so it's only after a comprehensive evaluation, and after a concept is judged to further greater good, we permit it to be shared with the community. Do you understand, little one? Since you are here, I think you might benefit from conversing with some of the others currently availing themselves of our services. Why don't you go and speak with some of the citizens waiting for the registrations to be processed? Much as I would like to believe my explanation was more than sufficient, I expect you may gain greater insight in this way. This is strangely, beautifully horrifying. Like, you caught the fact that we're going to go defeat a monster and then reduce it to its composite ether so that we can then take the raw ether and make something else, right? Hi, Zero. Oh, here, I'm party lead. Here, let me grab you. Oop. And yeah, these people are also weirdly nice. Which makes sense given the culture that they have. When you have an entire society built around the idea of not being violent, basically, of the ideas of community and a greater whole, yeah, there's just a total chill nature of it. Someone walks up and says, "Oh, hi, I'm sorry, I don't understand everything," and they're like, "Oh, okay. Allow me to go ahead and explain it to you." And they even kneel down to talk to us at level. "Hello, little one. So rare it is to see one of your size roaming about here. Come to learn about the Bureau, are we? I'm here today to register a new creature. It's boneless, with semi-translucent skin, and it drifts through the air like a dancer on a summer breeze. Its tentacles are trailing behind it, and it utilizes gas bladders to propel itself from place to place, you see. I admit it's not the most elegant of designs. I'd not shed a tear if it was rejected, quite frankly, but what can I say? I take pleasure in conceiving unorthodox designs. A beginner like you shouldn't take after me, though. If you're looking to pick up a few tips, you should probably ask someone else. Is that my number they called? Excuse me. Yeah, I can absolutely see why Emmett misses this place. By multiple definitions, this is a paradise. Maybe not the paradise, but certainly a paradise. I imagine quite a few people in real life would prefer living here than in real life. If Amarat was actually still around, I mean. You, the child I saw speaking with the attendant earlier? Yeah, I thought so. So young, and already so eager to learn about concepts and creations. That curiosity will serve you well, little one. I've been credited with a few popular concepts, I'm proud to say. I'm hoping my latest will be equally well received. Autonomous figures. I say my latest, but it's really the product of many others' work and individual insights. But such is the case for every masterwork, I reckon. Autonomy notwithstanding, these creations know no fear. They're wholly devoid of emotion, and will without hesitation or resistance engage in any dangerous activity, even if death is assured. There's a beauty in that, I think, and I hope the officials do so as well. I tell you, there's nothing more nerve-wracking and thrilling than the waiting period before you receive the result. I love it and hate it in equal measure. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about it. If you're still keen to learn more, why not pester the Warrior Ward over yonder? Come to think of it, I think their particular creation was designed to appeal to children. I don't know, honestly, Venters. I imagine we're going to find out, though, when we find out how things went wrong. You there, an aspiring creator come to learn about the Bureau and its inner workings, I trust. That's all well and good, but since you're here, perhaps you can help me with a little something. I've been refining a concept of mine for some time now. Adorable little creatures, designed to be the perfect plaything for any young citizen. but I'm still terribly unsure if it's ready to be submitted for approval. That's why I was hoping you might first put it through its paces. Tell me what you think. An honest opinion. I'll have no flattery from you, young man. This matrix will allow you to summon my creations, but don't use it here. Take it outside first. And don't be afraid to play rough. It's all part of the fun. I was actually just wondering how much of this is tainted by Emmett Selk's own, for lack of a better way to put it, rose-tinted goggles. Hover. Good morning, Rex. I'm going to pencil in a plus for this. This is a fascinating culture. Because just, wow. Oh, hello. Alright, help! I need to not kill this. Did it work? Nope. Nope, didn't work. Let's try that again. Nope, still isn't working. Jeez, okay, I guess I'll push it down the rest of the way. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's another interesting thing. In my opinion, fiction usually misrepresents immortal beings. No, seriously. And, I mean, we've all seen that trope, right? It's one of the reasons elves tend to be so hated in so much of fiction. Because they're so stuck up about everything. But I like the take they've done with Emmett here. In other words, it just feels like time isn't really a part of the equation for him. Not really. As much as he wants this back, and he is willing to act on an individual, like a small-scale basis, he's not really in a rush or impatient. He's just doing. Like, I know that sounds so strange, but imagine if you had no time restriction ever. If you could just do everything at whatever pace you wanted to, and there's no consequences for that. That's the vibe I get from him. Oh, jeez. Did he seriously invent globs? Oh my god. Yeah, La Habrea is, I agree, is a completely different vibe there. Because La Habrea was like, let's go, 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 let's go. And La Habrea is dead. As well he should be. Oh hey, I have Holy Circle now. Looks cool. Oh yeah, by the way, I just want to say Paladins have the second coolest spell in the game. I actually already have it. If I can remember where I put that button. Ah, there it is. I'll protect you! Best, well, second best looking spell in the game. Anyways. Yeah, that's another thing. The Ascians represent a truly horrifying threat because the worst possible thing they could do is decide to just wait until we die of old age. Now, for some reason they don't do that, and probably because that would be a terrible story. But think about that. They could just be like, alright, and they could just retire somewhere for a century or two, or however long it takes until we've all died of old age. Then come back like, okay. Although, I have a really strong feeling that Emmett was willing, legitimately willing, to go ahead and stop his plans. How do I phrase this? That's true, Dakota. That's true. Trying to figure out some way to track them. And it's not like these are Witcher 3 vampires, which can't be tracked. Anyways. One of the biggest things we're learning here about the Amarosians, or Amarotines, or however they're supposed to be called, is that they have direct manipulative capacity to ether. That's endemic to their entire culture, to their entire way of life. It's the same way we have hands. No, seriously, think about it for a second. The fact that we have hands with opposable digits has shaped our entire society. This thing right here has shaped everything that we do and everything we've developed. It feels like they've really thought about a similar concept for these people with their etheric interactions. Now, obviously, this is only a peek at it, not an in-depth analysis, but I do feel like the writers actually put some thought into this. Emmett said that he was mostly disappointed because we were not able to contain and utilize all of that light ether. I think he was mostly curious, mostly watching us, in addition to the fact that we're obviously someone he used to know, because he was seeing if we were capable of being, at least in part, equals to what they used to be. Because remember, multiple collapses have already happened. Multiple things being baked into the source has already been a thing at this point. And so, by logical definition, it would make sense that several of the people currently running around on the source are more people than they used to be. Less spread out. Now, I could be completely off the mark here, because I'm just speculating at this point. But it would be interesting if that was why he was so interested in us. Well, one of the two reasons why he was so interested in us, and in specifically our ability to manipulate the ether. And if I'm right, and I've had this theory for a bit now. You remember I mentioned, I think yesterday, that I really liked the idea of the nature of what we are allowing us to endure the light ether. You remember that? I find myself wondering if the reason we are what we are is because we are a soul that has been more combined than others. Because it makes logical sense that it wouldn't be an equal process, right? That, in short, that not everyone is 8/14ths, but because pieces are scattered all over the place, some people are 1/14, some people are 3/14, and some people are 5/14. But we're pretty sure that we're 7/14, because he flat out says that to us. 7 times folded over, or however the heck he phrased that, right? 7/14 out of 8 means we might quite literally be ahead of the curve on being rejoined, thank you. Means we might literally be ahead of the curve on being a rejoined being. Anyways. How did you find my lovelies? Were they as delightful and engaging as I hoped? Tell me everything, spare no details. Oh, I say, they spouted nonsensical phrases and attacked you like mad beasts? How distressing. Not at all what I intended. My sincerest apologies to you, little one, for the unpleasant experience. Still, from these experiences, we do grow stronger and wiser. I look forward to the day when you will try your hand at creation, too. This is the kind of culture that if I had absolute power, like beyond Q-level power, it would be just fascinating to peruse here every now and again. Just to show up and be like, oh, I wonder what they're up to now. You know, just to visit. Welcome back, little one. Did you succeed in binding a cubus? Why, yes. Oh. You have done well, little one. Allow me to siphon its energies and prepare the matrix for you. It should only take a moment. Here you are. A creation matrix you may use to generate your own robes. The concept is inscribed on the crystal, which has been infused with the ether of the beast you brought me. What? Why are you looking at me as though you don't know how to channel the powers of creation? It's as natural as breathing. Even a newborn babe, so they do have children at some extent, has the instinct. Even if your potential is lacking as one of our people, You must surely know what to do. I was just about to say, given, once again, the implication that all that we do is a fraction of what they could do, it would make sense that the crafting we do is literally a lesser version of the crafting they did. I've actually pointed this out before. All crafting requires elemental shards or elemental crystals to craft. Even something as basic and simple as making a saw. You know, something that, by logic, should not require any magic at all. But then again, as I've said, this particular world, in this particular setting, is completely constructed of ether. 100%. Which is also a fascinating concept, I will admit. Greetings, little one. Come to debate. It's so young in age. How wonderful. Shall we retire to the benches and settle on a topic? Okay, quick aside. One of the things I've always found fascinating about various ancient cultures is that they would consider debating how do I phrase this? Entertaining. Now, this is probably pretty logical to anyone watching me, because how many times have we found enjoyment from deliberating or debating or speculating on something, right? But I've always found the concept quietly, personally fascinating of just sitting around and talking about stuff and arguing stuff back and forth as a matter of entertainment, as a thing they do. And again, this guy's natural enthusiasm, oh my god, yes, let's go and talk. That sounds wonderful. I love that. Anyway, sorry. Oh, my apologies for jumping to conclusions. My friends are not quite as fond of the halls of rhetoric as I am, so I have a habit of chatting up any potential conversation partners. So if you're not here to debate, I presume you're here to learn about the mysterious and esoteric goings-on here. Oh, it would be my pleasure to act as your tutor on these matters, if you'll indulge me. The Hall of Rhetoric is, as its name indicates, a place where citizens may freely gather to discuss and debate all manners of topics. This central forum is ideal for open discourse, but smaller rooms are available for desiring more an intimate conversation. Oh, and there's a wealth of reading material concerning rhetorical techniques and history penned by the greatest minds on offer as well, should you wish to refine your techniques through self-study. In my mind, however, rhetoric is a living, breathing thing that is best experienced in the moment of conception and execution. Perhaps a demonstration would serve to further your education? I saw a contemporary of mine engaged in a lively debate earlier, just outside the hall. Go see if they're still there and issue them my personal invitation to a friendly battle of wits. Right out here. But that's precisely my point. Their obsession with this so-called mandate to approve only the most beneficial concepts for wider distribution, never mind the ridiculous subjectivity of their criteria, has led the Bureau of the Architect astray from its original purpose. Huh? Have you business with me, child? Regardless, I'm in the middle of a heated discussion with my partner. Come back later. Okay. No. My position has nothing to do with the intrinsic value of unique identity and whether or not it is retained. Rather, I posit the reproductions of a given concept are inherently imperfect, and thus they themselves unique, albeit in minor but significant degrees. And, more importantly, this variance is not to be condemned, but to be celebrated. Better than to strive in vain for an impossible standard that, even if met, would leave us lesser for lack of diversity. My, aren't you a stubborn little bugger? It's strangely endearing, I must admit. But we have all the time in the world. Why are you so insistent that I speak with you this very instant? Ah, you're acquainted with that chatterbox. I suppose I do owe them a debate or two. And that was as good an occasion as any. So be it. My throat didn't start giving me issues till I started streaming. So, pretty much a Tuesday for me. I see you found my friend. Thank you, little one. Then, without further ado, let us commence the promised debate. As to the matter of the subject we shall debate today, I propose the recent calamity which has befallen our friends across the pond. Oh my god, they're Navymen. What say you? The singular point of contention is, of course, whether or not Amarot should intervene on their behalf. I believe we should. The scale of the disaster which threatens that distant metropolis is as of a scale heretofore unseen, and so equally considerable resources must be committed to counteracting its effects. I disagree. The scale concerns me less than the nature of the proposition itself. Are we to unilaterally intervene in the affairs of those half a world away? Are we to be the saviours of one and all? Such arrogance may well lead to our own downfall. Well, I understand your concerns from a philosophical standpoint. I fear you are too quick to dismiss practical considerations out of a desire to maintain an unassailable moral authority. But let us, you and I hold here for the present and offer the floor to our young student. You have heard the opening salvos in this debate concerning the fate of our neighbors across the sea. What's your opinion on the matter? To ignore the plight of those one might conceivably save is not wisdom, it is indolence. Indeed, indeed. The same can be said regardless of one's opinion on the morality of intervention. There is a clear, undeniable benefit to Amarot in using this situation as a testbed for our newest creations, that we might develop and refine our defenses against a potential threat to our own fair city. How readily you cede the moral high ground. Was not our young friend's point that we have an ethical obligation to aid those in need? Yet not only do you instead elect to focus on the benefit to Amarot alone, but you also deprive our distant neighbors of the agency to determine their own fate. Oh my god, we're debating the Prime Directive. Oh my god. I just realized that. You misunderstand me. What benefits Amarot benefits all creation. I firmly believe, for the knowledge and wisdom we stand gain from the intervention can then be shared with others, empowering everyone to more effectively surmount similar trials in the future. Death to the Prime Directive. And to the living! Hey, Pervious. Oh my gosh. What is with my throat all of a sudden? I must say it's been far too long since I engaged in such a refreshing exchange of ideas. My colleague was equally delighted by the opportunity, you may be assured. Some decry it as little more than an academic exercise. After all, we failed to reach a meaningful consensus. But I dare say they miss the forest for the trees. Are we not more enlightened by the experience? Have we not been exposed to a greater variety of viewpoints? Is there not value in this alone? I truly believe we are blessed to be part of a society that exalts the free exchange of ideas and encourages active participation in public discourse. This may have been no more than your first foray into the exciting world of rhetoric, but I sense you have the soul of a debater within you. You may well have the potential to change Amarant in ways no one thought possible. Excuse me. I shall be watching your trajectory with great interest, my young friend. What are we up to? Yep, that's what I thought. Yeah, my throat's just dying. I don't know what's happening here. Well done, my young apprentice. Well, yeah, it's got to be all or nothing, Dream Whisperer. There's no such thing as moderation. Don't be ridiculous. Okay, all joking aside, I actually used to be part of a couple debate clubs. I bowed out of them after a while. But especially some political debate clubs, which were really fun. But as part of that, we were quite literally taught, as part of the scoring, because they would be scored, that if you conceded anything, you lost points. In short, the idea was you could only ever concede a point to the other side if you could then force them to concede 2 points to you. A net gain in points. In short, the very idea of compromise was actually discouraged. I don't know if that's true for all things. You still want Quick Arm, right, Rex? We can compare notes with the others' return. Hopefully our next move will be clear. Please be voice acted. Please be voice acted, please. Give my throat a moment. Twould seem our conversations were much alike, a looming disaster, creation, magics running rampant, and this convocation's efforts to bring salvation out of chaos. I suppose there was talk of little else at the time when these events came to pass. I mean, yeah. Genova has arisen. Urianger, if I may, what are your thoughts on the ancients' art of creation? A fascinating discipline indeed. Aught the mind can conceive can be rendered in reality. All that is required is a clear concept upon which to focus one's will. 'Tis not dissimilar to the primal rites taught by the Asians, wherein ritual ceremony breatheth life into figments of myth and legend. No, you're right, Remedy's Exxon. You can usually tell, based on the camera work, if nothing else. I see we arrived at the same conclusion, then. The people who lived in the age before the Sundering were blessed with vast reserves of mana. No matter how draining these creation magics must be, it seems they paid the cost with not more than a fraction of the ether which coursed through their own bodies. If we were attempted to do the same, such spells would soon deplete our energies, and then seek to draw balance from somewhere else, a hoard of crystals, mayhap, or the very land itself. Cough, cough, Alexander. Thus, when this art of creation was placed into our hands, it became, in effect, a means for destruction. Hello, Niscosta. An interesting matter which no doubt bears further study, but despite all these revelations, I worry we are no closer to finding Emmett Selk. Has anyone learned aught which might lead us to his location? Not directly, mayhap, but from what we've heard, it seems the Convocation of 14 is sequestered in the nearby Capitol building. When we went to see for ourselves, the attendant wouldn't let us through without a writ of permission, so we tried our luck at the Bureau of Administration, where we thought these permissions might be issued, but the clerk said he couldn't help us since our names weren't in the registry. And that's where we gave up. I wonder, though, Lore, could you be eligible for a writ? The voice in the lift seemed to know who you were. It might be your name is registered at the Bureau as well. Worth a look, I'd say. Meanwhile, I'll head back to the capital and search for a less official means of entry, just in case. Pray allow me to accompany thee on thy reconnaissance. An arcane perspective may prove needful. I think I'd like to speak more with these ancients. Maybe they could know something that would cure Lore's condition. Would you mind coming with me? Yeah, sure. Of course, lead the way. Then Y'shtola and I will busy ourselves with further exploration. There's surely more intelligence to be had. And so we part ways once more. This time let us reconvene in front of the capital. Damn it, Remedy's Exion. I was about to say, we could totally Deus Ex our way through here. I mean, think about it. So, I'm probably wrong on this, but what do you want to bet? Emmett is not only, of course, aware that we're here, but actively wants us to explore and peruse. I'm not sure why, other than the obvious, you know, this was my home. You know, just the desire to share it with someone else. Although... maybe he's just trying to get us to remember. I mean, he did have that point he made very strongly about how he imagined, I forget how he phrased it, but he imagined we might not, we probably don't remember. And then he immediately changed the topic. So this may be him once again trying to prompt us to remember. And yeah, this could be literally an uplifting opportunity. He himself mentioned that one of the main reasons he decided to try and interact with us was the old actions weren't working. So, maybe he really is trying a new tactic here. Anyways. A visitor's writ. Yes, I can assist you. Full name, please. Lore Runner. Please wait near the counter while I confirm your details. Oh, I should probably stop being a paladin. There we go. Guys, I've decided to stop being a paladin. Sentences taken out of context. Stab, stab. Lore Runner, your application is ready for collection. That was quick. As your residency was approved by Emmett Selk himself, further forms of identification will not be required. Here are your application documents. Submit them at the Bureau of the Secretariat, and the clerk will issue with a visitor's writ for the capital. Yeah, sure, but first I want to talk to the Bureau Provisioner. I'm curious what they sell here. Fishing stuff. Gissel greens. And grade 7 dark matter, which I don't actually know what that is. Yeah, no echoes yet. Apparently, the voices in my head tell me that dark matter is for repairing gear. Can we get housing in this city? It's an interesting question. So, obviously I don't want anyone to even respond to what I'm about to say, but I want to say it out loud so I have it on camera. Either this is going to end with Emmett basically on our side, or we are going to kill him. And those are the only two real possibilities here. I find myself... what is most likely is we will kill him. He is, after all, villainous, as we've mentioned several times. So what the hell's going to happen to this place with him gone? And of course, that depends on whether or not his enchantments depend on him to continue existing. After all, based on what we understand of their own creation methods, it's not like they need to be maintained. You know, a primal doesn't really have to be maintained. Well, I guess no, a primal does need to have to be maintained, doesn't it? Although that is, you know, basic level. Basic level creation magics. And of course there's two bonus questions here. How much of this is tinted by his rose-tinted goggles? And, probably more importantly, how much of this has decayed in pattern over the years? You leave a holodeck going for years on end, and it will slowly start to degrade just because of the nature of things. Next, please. Visiting the capital, are we? You know, I actually trust my viewers, Valadrix. Please take a seat. Your name will be called once your application has been processed. Okay. Look at us on that bench. May I? Yeah, of course. You, I think, are from a time beyond ours. Have you followed in the wake of Emmett Selk? Nay, there is no cause for alarm. I am simply a shade, here and not here. I know only that my name is Hythlodaeus, and that this city is a recreation, a phantom moment, plucked from the well of history. The others seem unaware of their pale existence, but I wonder if Emmett Selk's mind was distracted when it came to my reconstitution. A stray thought would have been enough. Hythlodaeus will realize the truth, for example. We were close friends once, you see. This was us, wasn't it? Don't answer me. Yet in spite of my perception, I play the same role as all the rest. A bit part meant to bring color and noise to this well-crafted stage. Too much scrutiny and we shall burst like the fragile bubbles that we are. Thus I tell you again, my presence is not to concern you. I wish only to share your company whilst we wait. If you've come this far, then you know of the catastrophe which waits us on the morrow. The final days. What began as an isolated incident soon swelled into a world-spanning threat. The Convocation of 14, well, it was 13 at the time, endeavored to create a will for our planet. They would repair the fundamental laws of order and halt the spread of destruction. But creation on such a scale required an immense source of power. Of those of us who still lived, nearly half offered up their lives in the name of salvation. That makes sense. They just mentioned how they could craft with the amount of ether they had because of how condensed they are. But what they're talking about is on a scale way beyond that, so they would need multiple people's ether to make this happen. And from their sacrifice, Zodiark was born. Just as we had hoped, he reached forth and halted the march of oblivion. Yet, oh, how the planet had suffered. So many species lost. The land was blighted, the water poisoned, the wind had ceased to blow. Holy crap, really? Once more did our people give of themselves to Zodiark, another half of our race sacrificed to cleanse the world, to ensure trees and grass and myriad tiny lives would sprout and grow and flourish. Half of half. The cycle of life had begun anew, and we considered the means by which we might protect it. The convocation decided thusly. We would nurture our world until it was bursting with vitality, and then, when the time was right, we would offer some portion of its living energy to Zodiark. In return, he would restore to us those brethren whose souls had fed his strength, and together we would resume our role as stewards. There were, however, those who disagreed with this plan. They argued enough had been sacrificed to Zodiark, that this world should belong to the lives newly born. These dissidents surrendered their life energies in creation of Hydaelyn, in incarnation of their opposing belief. And for the first time in history, our people stood divided. Know you then how this conflict ended? I thought you might. Emmett Selk has ever been a champion for the will of Zodiark. The original plan may have been set back by Millennium, but he will have not abandoned his course. He will pay the price for our return by whatever means is necessary. Although he may carry himself with certain glib ease, Emmett Selk is not a man to bear his burdens lightly. In fact, I imagine they have only grown heavier with every passing century. Quick aside, normally I'd be irritated at someone flat out telling us how someone feels like this, but remember, they've been going out of their way to show this for Emmett Selk up till now, in animation and voice acting. So, this is just for the people who weren't paying attention, basically. "'Tis truly a terrible weight he has chosen to carry." Lore Runner. It seems your turn has come. Pray, do not let me keep you. There was one last thing. You walk with another at your side, yes? Nay, I see no definitive form, just the faintest suggestion of a second soul. I doubt it visible to anyone but me. Otherwise, I assume only you can hear and see this ethereal companion. Your connection is hardly a coincidence. In our time, the two of you were one. The color of your souls tells the tale. A hue that distinctive cannot be mistaken, no matter how thin the soul is spread. This is just the kind of fate I would expect for one such as he. Surely Emmett Selk has recognized the hint of him in you. Lore honor. Bueller. Fare you well, my new old friend. May you find what it is you seek. I wonder who we were, too. Oh, apparently they've confirmed that wasn't us? Aw, pity. Okay, this is hysterical over here. Hi, guys. It means we're closer to an Ascian than anyone else is, I think, is a better way to put that, Valvadrix. Although, that being stated, that does confirm something I've suspected for a while. Ever since I learned about the splitting soul thing, I've assumed that that Ardbert is part of us, basically. That he is... I mean, they basically just said that, flat out. That we were part of the soul that was split. That would be interesting if we were the 14th, the one who bowed out. That would also explain... Because Emmett has clear familiarity with us. Like, very obvious and clear familiarity with us. So one way or another, we were probably someone he knew. And considering, like I mentioned earlier, we are 7 times folded, so either 8 or 7, depending on how you define that, of 14, you could see why he would recognize us far more clearly than he would all these other people. Your visitor's writ, as requested. When you wish to gain admittance to the capital, simply present the document to the attendants. Yeah, sure. Let me just do this to speed this up a little bit. That's an interesting idea, Rosalisa. If that was true, it would also be entirely possible that we really are branded, or enthralled, or whatever, because we were one of the originals who summoned Hydaelyn. Either that or we were one of the ones who was sacrificed to Hydaelyn, although, Yeah, then there's the Echo, which we still don't actually really know what it is. Not really. Ah, lore. Y'shtola and I have returned from the institution the locals call the Academia Einider. Well, from its public offices, at least. We thought an Ascian place of learning the ideal spot to research your condition, but it seems we lack credentials to enter the Academia proper. Good you're here. Everyone seems present and accounted for. Master Thancred can best describe our chances at infiltrating the capital. I can hope thy efforts to secure permissions were successful. Finally! You were gone so long I was on the verge of mourning a rescue party. How fared you on your bureaucratic ventures? I see my instincts were correct. Good thing, too. Urianger and I weighed our chances of breaking into the capital, and an official entrance is by far the more attractive option. The capital boasts not a single armed sentry. 'Twould seem that in their time they don't deem it needful to post guards. The windows and doors, however, appear heavily warded. Although mightily we did strive, the strength mundane and magical, we failed to budge them even a fraction of 1 ilm. Perhaps 'twas simply not the case that Emmett Selk's recreation did not extend to their usual function. We didn't try everything, of course, but we thought it best to conserve our time and energy for more pressing matters. Speaking of which, Reen and I tried asking about a cure for you. Problem is, these ancients didn't exist beyond Amarots today. They will happily tell their own tales. But whenever we attempt to explain our situation, the conversation quickly becomes muddled. Perception filters. What of you, Lore? Was aught worthy of interest said during your efforts to obtain a writ? Yeah. You could say that. A great sacrifice of life in exchange for their brethren's resurrection, and you say all the Ascian scheming has been leading to this? All this time. But if they still mean to enact this plan, then things won't end with the rejoining. I thought we knew their intentions in full. Restore the world to its former glory, and in turn, empower Zodiark to reclaim his throne as the will of the planet. But that was merely a step on the way. I hesitate to put it into words, but we have to assume that following the final rejoining, the Ascians mean to draw on the lives of the Source to make their final sacrifice to Zodiark. That does seem the most likely scenario. Perhaps those who ally with the Ascians would be spared that fate. But what value is there in surviving when all our history and struggles is erased? I cannot conscience such an act. Of course not. And that's not to say of what Emet-Selch plans for the Exarch's power. Do we stand by and let him threaten our future as well as our past? We need to find him, Laura, and when we do, make your mark. Change the course of history in a way that is felt by those who came before, by those who came after, and everyone you've ever met. Change the thing so that even my other self, dying somewhere in that future calamity, will smile and say, "Yeah, I knew you would win." Is fighting Emet-Selch the only way? He created an entire city. It will take everything we have to defeat him, even if we can. And if you push that hard in your current state, the light will break free. It's okay, we have a solution to the light problem, finally. The decision to press on lies with you, just as it lies with each and every one of us. Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's the final tragedy here. So, catastrophe happens. Zodiark is made of half the people. Then Zodiark consumes half the remaining people in order to start doing stuff. Then Hydaelyn is made and all that fun stuff happens. I have a very strong feeling that Zodiark, well, put simply, is far more traditional of a villain, to put it into such terminology. In other words, that Zodiark probably could recreate some of these bodies in some of these cities, but either is unwilling to, or is flatly unable to actually recreate the actual beings that were lost. In short, that what the Ascians have been doing all this time has been for nothing. Like, I can actually picture the cutscene happening. I'm just getting a sky view of this. Yes, I bothered. This took better part of an hour, so you're welcome. But I wanted to get a sky view of the city, just for stream. Wish I wasn't so damn slow. Jesus Christ. There we go. But yeah, imagine... That is very pretty. What's the... Yeah, so there's a weird thing where occasionally, like that, it'll just walk instead of run. And I've never really figured out exactly what causes it. Anyways, what's the get rid of UI button, Valvatrix? Thank you. That's true, Nevermore. Now, granted, that's on a lesser scale of what we're talking about, but still a very valid point. Oh, there's the wall. There's the reality wall. Very cool. Am I going full speed? I think I am. One more shot, and then I'll warp back down. But yeah, I have a really strong feeling that that's... And feel free to jot this down or whatever. I'll put this as my official prediction. That whoever is left over at the end of this is going to try and successfully summon Zodiark. And Zodiark's just going to be like, no, I'm not bringing anyone back. Why would I do that? I've got all this ether in me now. Screw you guys. Is there fall damage? Well, let's find out. Hang on. I'll scooch over something here. There we go. Dismount? Dismount. You can't dismount on the air? This game sucks. Well, screw that. Let's just warp down. But yeah, so we've got two possibilities, I would say. Three possibilities. Either Zodiark won't try to bring them back, because screw you, basically. This is mine now. You know, evil, blah, blah, blah. Possibility, and that's what I think is most likely going to happen. Zodiark will actually be the villain, even to the Ascians. Possibility number two, which is what several people in chat have been saying. He can basically recreate the bodies, but not the souls. Which also leads to, so basically a new people. A new people are born. Which, of course, leads to possibility three. Even worse, he can only make puppets. Like these things. So they're not even really a new people. They're just lifeless automatons wandering around in the shape of the people who used to be. The name of this quest is Shadowbringers. Do you remember the talk we had atop the tower in Mordsuk? I'm still of the same mind now as I was then. I don't abandon you. You don't abandon me, and together we make a difference in this fight. There's always hope if we look for it. I saw it again and again as you tore the veils from the light in the sky. If we take the next step forward, there's a chance we will find a way to save you. So no matter how long it takes or how much it hurts, you can count on me to keep walking. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure I know exactly how to be saved at this point in time. And just to make it fully clear, the ancient Amarosians had an innate ability to manipulate ether. We are 7 or 8ths of whatever, right? What if we were one additional fragment more than we are now? And we happen to have a portion of our soul walking around with us. That unfortunately will probably mean Ardbert will cease to exist, will functionally die in being recombined into a more complete us. But I do believe that would actually give us the sufficient capacity for ether manipulation to be able to pull that off. Remember, we're pretty close to that level of ether manipulation now. We almost are there, we aren't quite there. Yes, absolutely, Dream Whisperer. Vothri spoke of the disaster we would bring upon our own heads, the ceaseless conflict. Imagine how he would sneer to see what's become of the first, not to mention your perilous predicament. Yet who can deny the fire your deeds have ignited in people's hearts? You achieved what my logic and ideals never could, uniting disparate people under the banner of hope and common purpose, and without you, that giant Talos would have never raised its head. I have borne witness to many such miracles at your side, and would do so again. This is but another obstacle in the road. So come, let us travel it. Drag me through wonder and danger as you are wont to do, and I shall endeavor not to slow you down. As thou well knowest, if we are to usher Emmett Selk unto his rest, we must needs bind his Ascian soul, and then shatter it with overwhelming force. The former task requireth Arasite, and such I have prepared, upon the Exarch's asking no less, though 'twas ever mine intent to provide said boon. The future whence our noble friend doth hail is a world fallen to Ascian artifice, and he would not see such grim history repeated. In a sense, Emmett Selk's destruction will be the culmination of the Exarch's efforts, a reward for all he hath endured these many years. Yet, even as thou stridest into the jaws of peril, forget not that his fondest wish, and many others beside, is to see thee survive unto the morrow. 'Tis in pursuit of happiest of outcomes that I do pledge to remain at thy side. Ah! Control. Screw up. Our time in the First has been a never-ending succession of trials, as arduous as our path in the Source ever was. I don't know, I've been through ARR. I've been through 1.0. Yet through all our journeys together, through that deep and foreboding wood, you have helped me stay true to my convictions. Thus would I return the favor. Do as your heart decrees, without hesitation or regret. And that is all I will say on the matter. Well, this has put everyone in a solemn mood, hasn't it? Honestly, we're not even sure this will be the end of it. But I suppose we should speak our minds when we have the opportunity. You taught me that much in Amarang. So forgive me this moment of sentiment, Lore. By dragging me into this sorry mess, you've given me the chance to think and act as I should have. For Reen's sake. No, Valvedrix. No, 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 no. Words cannot express how much of this has changed my life, or how grateful I am for your support. So I shall express my gratitude through action instead. No matter where you decide to go, I will be there, guarding your back. Yeah, no, I got basically through most of the initial Gridania story arc, and I had started doing the City-States story arc, which I vaguely remember. And that was about when the Garlemald started coming into the focus again. And I was just like, yeah, no, this is awful. Can we stop playing this, guys? And then we stopped playing it. When Minfilia entrusted me with her power, they warned me that no matter how strong you become, you can still fall victim to despair. You can still feel powerless. And she was right. After you collapsed on Mount Gould, my hand wouldn't stop shaking. If I made a mistake, if I failed to bind the light within you, I was terrified you would die. No, it's okay. I would worse than die. Even now, you could be moments from turning, and I wouldn't know how to save you. You, Thancred, the others, you've all been there when I needed help. Minfilia surrendered her life to me. Her legacy. I should be ready to do the same for you, and I want to. I'm not good enough. She told me to follow your example, and I've really tried. I don't like either of those options. I'm not asking to be saved. The light, how can you go on? I got work to do. I don't remember who said that quote, but I remember that quote. It was Hashifan. Yeah, okay. Fate can be cruel, but a smile better suits a hero. I remembered the quote, I just didn't remember who said it. I'm not sure It's okay, don't worry about it. Actually, never mind. I think I'll understand better if I try it for myself. No, don't smile, don't smile, no! It's horrifying. No, nothing will come of brooding and self-pity. I've made my decision, Lore. I'm going with you. Storm what now, Valvedrix? Just think, I could be on the Predator if it actually dropped. Welcome to the capital. All visitors must be present. An official writ of permission before admittance will be granted. Your documents appear to be in order. You may proceed. You may proceed to the capital, but any guests you should choose to bring with you must remain in your vicinity at all times. Dungeon unlocked. Maybe? Maybe not. Fair enough, Omega Legion. I have the Phoenix, too. And a bunch of others, actually.
This really is unacceptable. I gave you very specific instructions.
Emmet Selk.
My invitation was for an abomination, ripe with the power to bring about the world's annihilation. Not this half-broken thing. Whatever am I to do with you? And I see you insist on keeping the same familiar company. Are you so lost without them?
It is not he who is lost without the familiar. Not content with remaking an entire city, you aim to fill it with the reconstituted souls of the dead.
I may have gotten a little carried away in my attention to detail, added a few unnecessary flourishes. Well, there's no point trying to hide it. Yes. Once the rejoining of worlds is complete, Zodiac will regain his full strength and shatter his prison. Then we shall offer up the Source's remaining inhabitants in sacrifice, that we might resurrect our brethren who died to bring Zodiac into existence. But what was it that you came here to do exactly?
Where's option 3? All of the above.
Well, you can't have him. The wisdom that man guards may open up new worlds of possibilities. He has unlocked the secrets of travel across the rift, and through time as well, it would seem. Quite an accomplishment for one of his incomplete nature. I must explore the limits of his capabilities and harness that power for the Ardor. Even now, after everything, you refuse to see reason. You think it unfair that you are subject to suffering? That your lives will be sacrificed for the Ancients? Look at me! I have lived 1,000 of your lives. I have broken bread with you, fought with you, grown ill, grown old, sired children, and yes, welcomed death's sweet embrace. For eons have I measured your worth and found you wanting. Too weak and feeble-minded to serve as stewards of any star. Have your recent spats with Vorthri and his Sin Eaters taught you nothing? Have you not learned that your ignorance and frailty beget only endless misery? How long do you mean to perpetuate this farce? How much more must I endure your bumbling interference? Let us imagine that the laws of reality are again undone, and the world faces true annihilation. Do you honestly believe that half your number would sacrifice themselves to save the other?
That was an interesting question. Do you think half the people in real life would do that?
Of course they wouldn't! And if you had witnessed history unfold as I have, you would reach the same conclusion. You cannot be entrusted with our legacy.
Notice once again, he mentions, though in his tirade, his hope that we would actually be willing or capable of living up to the standards he holds for us. You caught that, right? He doesn't actually want to kill us all. He wants us to carry on the legacy of his people, and we have been found wanting repeatedly. This is one of the reasons Emet-Selch is such a fascinating character to me. Because though he is villainous in his modus operandi, he is not really villainous in his intent.
I will bring back our brethren, our friends, our loved ones. The world belongs to us, and us alone.
That's an interesting point to me. Who knows at this point? We really only have his words to go off of.
Emet-Selch! We understand, truly, but it makes no difference. The ones you love are in the past, while ours are here in the present. One day, we too will be ashes and dust, but not today. Our time is not yet finished. We share your conviction, and that is why we will not abandon our course.
You think us the same? You think your tattered soul of equal worth to those I lost? Then come. Earn your place. Prove yourselves worthy to inherit this star.
And that's been his point from the beginning, isn't it? Prove it.
Behold the coming oblivion. 'Twas the end of our era and the beginning of our great work. A fitting backdrop for your final judgment.
I shall wait within, but do not spend too much time on your preparations. There's no telling how much longer the guest of honor will last.
And for all his ranting, notice he is once again giving us a chance to prove ourselves. I really like him as a character. Also, Sephiroth reference. I want to give a third positive to Emet-Selch. What do you guys think? This is basically what I like to call a repeating positive. The first positive is for the character, the second is for his presence and everything, and the third would be for him just continuing to be an excellent character. And yeah, the voice acting, the direction, he is a truly fascinating character, and very quickly rising on my list of favorites when it comes to this game. I will admit, and you guys can go ahead and make fun of me for this if you would like, But I will freely admit that it had reached the point in the story where I just stopped caring about the Ascians in general. Like, I actually kind of like Elidibus as a character, but when Elidibus took over Xenos' body, my literal reaction was just a groan. Like, ugh, really? Fine, you know, it's just, alright, whatever. Sure, Velvetrix. Yeah, I'm good, by the way. I'll look around. Don't worry, guys. God. Oh, I'm party lead. Sorry. Sorry. Oop. I haven't been party lead like this whole expansion. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready. Yeah, no. Positive to story for Emmett Silk yet again. When even Takoida agrees that Emmett Silk deserves another positive, you know he's a really good character. You'll note they still haven't really explained what the Cataclysm was, or the Calamity, excuse me. Or perhaps slightly more accurately, they haven't explained why.
Welcome to the final days of Amaranth.
I mean, Arthas is, whoa, kind of hard to argue against.
The fabric of our star began to fray, and the unchecked energies of creation begat malformed beasts.
How did Arthas kill WoW? Nice usage of smoke to distinguish the skybox in the background there. It's just too good. Now, I'm going to spoil a movie that came out 60 years ago, so on the off chance you have an interest in seeing The Forbidden Planet, this would be a good time to mute me. Okay, I can't heal both of you at once, guys. Work with me here. Not really, Lamppost, no. As I've talked about during both discussions of that event, Stratholme was a Kobayashi Maru. There was no winning that. Anyways, there's an old movie called Forbidden Planet. And Forbidden Planet is an awesome movie that I do recommend you take the time to see if you ever have the chance to do so. But the main thrust of the plot, and this is the spoiler for the movie, that's why I'm prefacing this. The spoiler for the movie is that there is this ancient, amazingly powerful, amazingly advanced civilization that had mastered the ability to directly produce creations made of energy based on the minds of the people. In short, more or less the same thing that's happening here with the Amarosians, right? Here's the catch. They got to the point where they were so advanced that they basically lacked the ability to stop doing that. Their own thoughts, their own ids, their own subconscious would craft stuff in addition to their main consciousness and their volition. So what ended up happening is the entire world ended up killing itself because everyone would unconsciously craft monsters and horrors and nightmares that just killed the people, actually. I shouldn't say destroyed the planet. The planet was fine. Because the moment someone was actually killed, That's true. Sci-Fi Debris did do a good analysis of the movie, which I also recommend, because I've seen part of it. And he seemed pretty spot on. Anyways, as soon as the people were killed, you know, the stuff they were generating would stop existing. And thus, it only stopped when basically all of them died. Which sounds very familiar compared to this, doesn't it? So it's entirely possible that's where they're going with this. Is just, we had the power over creation, and this was the result. Yeah, this could be even worse, as Takoida mentioned. So, in Forbidden Planet, those projections were made by machines, and by the technology that they were able to output. Basically, literally crafted out of energy that was being produced. And like I said, the moment the individual goes away, the creation goes away. Hey, Platty, I feel you on that one. Hug. One-armed hug. But here, it's entirely possible the situation's even worse. That these things were just being created, independent of the creators, and worse, because they're being created. Remember, this is siphoning away their ether in so doing. Granted, in relatively small chunks, but imagine if all that ether...
Prayer gives rise to prideals. Our dread made manifest our deepest fears.
Imagine if things are just being summoned out of control. In fact, this could be a severe example of seesaw effect. In short, imagine if after the first incident, after the first time something is made that wasn't supposed to be made, people start being afraid of it happening because it happened once. Which means now more things are being made, which makes it more likely for things to be made. It's seesaw effect. It just tilts more and more and more. Yeah, a literal mimetic plague. You're clear of spoilers. We stopped talking about Forbidden Planet. Ah, there it is. Didn't even see it. What is this, Crystal Tower? Sure. Cute. Yeah, exactly. It's the don't think of an elephant problem. Nobody picture pink elephants, guys. It's entirely possible, Bregwin. This literally was completely inevitable. That simply by the very nature of how these people existed, of their existence as a species, that this was something that was going to happen regardless. Yeah, this thing is really ugly, by the way. Good God. Well, this is going to be interesting. Well, I would be catching people up, but my AoEs have short range, so forgive me as I try to catch up here a little bit. I shouldn't laugh at that. I'm laughing because I was just thinking to myself, well, what's better, getting hit by the small circle or by the thing that'll kill me in one hit? And then Zira died. You have chosen poorly. Now, I die to weird collision issues with that all the time in C2. Either because of lag or because I'm an idiot or whatever. So no real making fun, Zero. Choose this corner for mine. Well, this is an interesting problem. We'll do this. This is a lot of damage going around, I just want to say. I'm just going to pop this while we're standing here. No, I don't remember that in Remedy's Exion, sorry. I gotta be honest, most of it, I don't remember 1.0 story all that well. I mostly remember the game. Because... Oh yeah, I heard about this. And lo, vile beasts did rise, leaving naught in their wake but blood and ash, and thus did the first doom befall us. Yet even as its defeat did not halt the march of oblivion. Yes, Street Whisperer, completely different. It's literally before. It is a different story. If you do the Bahamut arc in 2.0, or in ARR rather, kind of summarizes what happened in 1.0. And they reference it throughout ARR. In many ways, ARR has been considered to be cleaning up 1.0, so they could get to other stories. Yeah, they also kind of retconned 1.0. I can't remember her name, the Bahamut enthralled Imperial, whose name I can't frickin' think of, and their gender is one such thing. Minor point, but a point nonetheless. That wouldn't surprise me at all, Remedy's Exia. Nail, that was her name. Every source I checked up on that one was basically a source of... It did get explained, but it was still probably a retcon, based on everything I read about it. I mean, that is the definition of a retcon, after all, when you try to explain away something in the past in a different way than how it was presented at the time. True enough, Pillars. There's even a point where people don't even remember the heroes from 1.0. Not directly, they just remember their glowing things of light or whatever. No, man, heal debuffs are the best! This is awesome, barely being able to heal anyone. Thankfully, Valvatrix isn't taking that much damage. This would suck without that. Yeah, exactly, Omega Legion. I suppose I should explain my terminology here, since apparently I'm not being clear. There are two types of retcons. One is a complete changing of what happened in order to just fix it, Warcraft 1. And another is explaining away what happened as if basically you didn't know what was really happening, to give it more context. Oh.
The city's burned. The waters ran red with blood.
Hello. In short, the nail thing was, by all accounts that I've seen, an example of the second type of retcon, not the first type of retcon. Still a retcon. There's a lot of Doom creatures about. I don't know why there's so many Doom creatures. I thought my subconscious had issues. Yeesh. I really wish I could zoom the camera out more. See you around, Permeus. Have some fun. Or be destroyed. Both are acceptable. Absolutely, Jay. I mentioned Warcraft 1 in brief earlier. In my opinion, Warcraft 1 needed to be retconned. Just straight up required it. Because Warcraft 1's actual story as presented was kind of a mess. And kind of bad. I can't help but notice those have a bit of a similarity to lions with eagle wings. The Warcraft movie was a reimagining of the retcon story of Warcraft 1. To be 100% clear about the distinction there. Goodness. A lot of damage going around here. Holy crap. I'm just saying, Remedy's X, you know. No, I'm kidding. It's probably a totally unintentional thing. But yeah, Warcraft the movie is basically an AU, an alternate continuity. Not an alternate timeline, which is part of the same setting. An alternate continuity entirely. Hence, AU. Pull one of these up here. Turn it into a Lord card, because I think we got a boss coming up here. Like Beth. You're funny, Lamppost. Oh, goody. One of these things. Terminus Bellwether. Thus did the... Oh, hang on. Ah, too late. So the second bit of dialogue is... It would not, however, prove the last. For soon did the sun bend low, scorching earth and boiling seas. Thus did the second doom break us. Whoops, that's... I literally hit the wrong button. Oh my gosh, okay. Top off here, since I don't know what's going to happen next. Correct, Dream Whisperer. Even though the Warcraft movie was in fact successful, not just because of China, it was nevertheless... There's been no word whatsoever on a Warcraft 2 movie, even though there were plans being made during the creation of the Warcraft 1 movie to make a Warcraft 2 and a Warcraft 3 movie. So some of the seeds were already being sown. This is one of the reasons why Thrall is in the Warcraft 1 movie, to sow the seeds for the future. Really would like to get this debuff off, if you could manage that. You know what? Oh, that's not there. Damn. Damn it, I had a thing for that. Oh, absolutely, Omega Legion. There's several major story threads going through there. Yeah, endure the second doom. Bear witness to the second doom. This button is getting out of control. This button. Right up in here with the tank. Pop that. Have it be interrupted. That's okay. The hot got down. Put that down. Bonk, as they say. Get another of these out of there. This. And I have the worst healer in the world. As we all know. Next. I firmly say that I enjoy the Warcraft movie, but it's worth noting that I would say Warcraft movie is basically one half of a good movie and one half of an awkward, kind of bad movie. And what's funny is almost everyone I've talked to has all had... This is a DPS check, isn't it? Has had the same general reaction to that. Okay, sure.
Yet this was far from the worst of it. Come, and I will show you.
The pacing was all over the place, but yeah, the orcs is what I'm talking about. The orcs were awesome.
You will see the end of a world.
Okay. Well, it wouldn't be a Final Fantasy if not, you know, this. Getting Omega vibes here. Really wish I could zoom the camera out more. Hey, there's one of those big horrible things. Yet it was neither claw nor flame, but our very sins. I should read these out loud. Stacked to the heavens where they took root, corrupting its halls. Thus did the third doom undo us. Well, they mentioned that. The first Doom was the first creature that showed up. The second Doom was when the creatures got much worse. The third Doom is when all hell went loose. You'll notice this is very apropos. We literally cannot fight the creature over there. It is not physically allowing us to fight the creature over there. It can still hurt us. It is still attacking us. But we can do nothing to it. That is very appropriate. I stand by my core statement, though. I hope they someday explain how this calamity really got started. Like, I've given my two theories. One, it was Lavos, or something like Lavos. Jesus Christ. Look at that. Theory number two is this is inevitable theory, that this was always going to happen. That this is a logical byproduct of what they are. Lavos would be an awesome boss fight if they did it right. Yeah, exactly. Like, this is basically a heat death of the universe thing. Now, the Lavos thing, admittedly, really interests me, and I will flatly admit that. I think Lavos really would be a good insert into this. However, I also admit, as a storyteller, the irony, the dramatic irony of this being an inevitable thing also appeals to me, because that makes this a classic tragedy. It means the Ascian's goal of restoration is impossible, regardless of Zodiark. Because even if they succeed at it, this right here will happen again. Again, due to their very nature. Exactly, Leander. They just be starting the cycle over again.
The star was fading. We saw we had to weave its laws anew.
Jeez. Do I trust Hydaelyn? I have never trusted Hydaelyn. Oh, don't mistake me. I quite literally owe Hydaelyn my life. In the ultimate encounter, at the end of the main story quest stuff, right? However, that does not mean I trust her. God, that would be even more horrifying, Leander. I don't want this to become Type 0, okay? Can we not do that? Type 0 is hard for me to swallow. At least the background lore of Type 0. Whoop. Hey, it worked. It's a good dungeon, I think, in terms of aesthetics, and it's a wonderful dungeon in terms of story. I don't think it deserves a gameplay positive. These mobs are a little bit too sloggy for trash, in my opinion. And they don't inform the bosses, which is what I consider to be good trash design. I imagine this will get old the more I do it, you know what I mean? As opposed to being something where it's like, oh, I can't wait to do, you know, the Black Omen, to use a good dungeon example. This is more like, oh, God, I have to do Amarot again. Especially as a healer. I will say this, I'm actually glad that I'm healing non-stop. It's just, geez Louise. This is probably really boring to tank, though. Oh yeah, I should be showing off some of the creatures more.
But between us and our goal loomed a final misbegotten fiend.
Okay. Lavos. Nope, it's the big thing that we've been seeing for a bit now. Chthonic Riddle. Excuse me, Chthonic Riddle. Just type in exclamation point ratings, Jay. That's a pass. Thus did the third doom undo us. From the depths of despair, the last harbinger rose. I agree with you, Second Aid, excuse me. That's part of why I mentioned this is probably a lot less enjoyable the second time through. The first time through, you're kind of feeling the point of it. And then the second time, you're just going through because you're doing the dungeon again. Oh, hello. Don't know how far back to get, so we're just going to keep going. Okay, that's not too bad. I've noticed they're really, whoops, hello. They're really leaning on the you can't actually see the telegraphs type of bosses lately. Not that I'm complaining, it's just they certainly seem to be going in that direction. Exactly, Leander. I only mention that because I've been debating giving a plus to, you know, good dungeon design, and so far, well, I haven't seen it, to be blunt. Like, it's not bad dungeon design, but I can't write home about it. Let's go pop that really quick. And as it edged inexorably closer, we knew. This is yet an... I know I've said this like 3 times this dungeon, but I really wish I could zoom the camera out more. Bosses like this are a great example of why. And of course, now we're being pushed back against the edge. Thematic apropos. Let's go like this, and this, and... let's not do that yet. Yeah. I was correctly lined up there. That's probably just because I haven't updated the HUD yet, Jay. And that is on me. Unless it's in italics, in which case, never mind. This, and then this, this. I was going to say, this felt like a DPS race, just the construction of it. I mean, it also makes sense thematically, as I just mentioned. This fight probably really sucks to do as a trust, as a healer. Okay. Sure. Ah, so they do. Without decisive sacrifice, our planet would surely perish. I'm distracted. I barely had a chance to do anything with the, just gonna do that for a second. The cards. Or heart thereof. The italics mean it hasn't been codified yet. It's something I'm debating, and I jot it down to make sure I don't forget about it. So apparently it really is only supposed to be one positive. What do you know? Hey, I got 40 login tomestones of Goetia. Woo. Well, that was easy. No, I'm kidding. So there's Lavos. See? I'm kidding. I have no idea, Pillars of Snow, and I never will.
Well, well, you prevailed.
Nevertheless,
your performance was underwhelming, and I remain unconvinced of your worthiness. Oh, you tower over your misbegotten ilk, no doubt. But should I bring my full strength to bear, well, you would be as leaves in the wind. The gulf between us is a reflection of the disparity between the world as it was and what it has become.
Our worlds may not live up to your lofty standards, but they are our worlds, our homes, full of life and love and hope. And we won't stand by and let you destroy them!
Alize!
You are mistake. For we who have known perfection, the shattered source and these shards are ghastly mockeries of the true world. The ephemeral lives you exalt are pale imitations, utterly devoid of meaning.
Belittle us all you like, but we will rise again and again, and give the lie to your insults through word and deed. We define our worth, not the circumstances of our creation.
More prattle.
Why are we still wounded when those two are just fine, basically?
Fool, who are you? No one, nothing. Once I have reclaimed my heritage, my first act will be to expunge your stain from history's weave. My world will have no need for heroes.
Still fighting the good fight.
It is true that all we hold dear is fated to fade away.
I hate to interrupt, but this is how you do Ranjit properly. This is how you show who someone who is way higher than our pay grade.
But that is no reason for us to forsake it.
To take what steps we may, and thus mark the road for those who would follow. To strive for the best of all futures. Be this not also thy purpose?
Do not presume to speak of my future. And you? Why waste your final moments in futile defiance? Weary wanderer, you've no fight left to fight, no life left to live.
Also, yes, bookends.
You see, the light will not be denied.
Surrender to your fate, and let the transformation take you. Rise up in madness and fury. Devour the vermin infesting the land which is rightfully ours. Now, Reed! Now!
Fight it. You have to hold on.
I'm just waiting to see if I'm right at this point. Oh, there he is.
If you had the strength to take another step, could you do it? Could you save our worlds? Take it. We fight as one. This world is not yours to end. This is our future. Our story.
No, it can't be. That trick of the light. You are a broken husk, nothing more. How can you hope to stand against me alone?
We stand together!
How... I'm surprised you can stand at all.
I could not well leave matters half finished. Let expanse contract, Eon become instant. Champions from beyond the rift, heed my call!
That's interesting.
Damn you! Damn you all!
No, I caught it, Rex.
Very well. Let us proceed to your final judgment. The victor shall write the tale, and the vanquished become its villain. But come, let us cast aside titles and pretense, and reveal our true faces to one another. I am Hades, he who shall awaken our brethren from their dark slumber.
Not a wipe like 5 times in a row. The dying gasp. I like that. I'll just promote you. Here you go, Providrix. You're promoted. Boop! Make it happen. So yeah, for the first time, basically ever, they're actually going to summon other party members. In lore, as the other reflections of the Warrior of Light, which is kind of awesome. I don't remember Sasano that well. I'll take your word on it. I know. We'll disagree to disagree. In fact, by my own headcanon, this would mean we're basically us with other shards of us, rather than us with other heroes. Which is a really cool idea in its own right. But, whatever, as they say. No, it's just, what is it, 7? Yeah, it's just 7 pugs, guys. Well, yeah, because the group size is 8. I mean, we can only make so many accommodations here. This is a long queue. Holy crap. Oh, we have no tank. That's why. Are you all going DPS? God, you guys suck. I'm poking fun. Yes and no, Jay. Basically, there is only one real connecting point for the Final Fantasies. I've talked about this during the FF Lore Run Proper Remake, and that is the Rift. The Rift is a connecting point for the various Final Fantasies, and even that only really matters for a single individual, Gilgamesh. Other than that, the FFs are effectively unconnected. This song would probably fit the actual fight a lot better than the 5 minutes we're waiting for a queue. Oh, there we go. So how many wipes do you think we're going to get? Which will completely ruin the mood. 12 wipes. We got this. 14 wipes. That would be hysterical. Hey, look where we are.
Show me your vaunted strength, and I shall expose the lie of your fragmented existence.
Yeah, that's pretty much how most trials are, Venters. Besides, I love the idea that these are the fragments of us, because that means I can now say, in lore, that you guys are all fragments of me. Yeah, he is pretty similar to FF9 Hades. Hello.
Darkness reigns. Bleed forward. You are unworthy. Your aim is mine to command. Bleed forward. Scurry and scatter. For darkness to purge. Darkness reigns. The arcane is mine to command! Flee, fool!
Feel the heat.
I am stifled by this vessel of flesh!
Round 2. Unburden your sleeping souls, my brethren. I shall bear every hope, every dream, every prayer.
The future of the stars will be shaped by my hands! Raised up by the prayers of our fallen brethren. Behold, a sorcerer of El tremble before their glory.
Notice the song's a remix of the typical dungeon boss song.
drown in despair. My dormant breath, dream now of a dark tomorrow. By our gathered might must we reclaim its vain reflections. In Zodiac's name, I beseech you!
God dang it.
Has the warden's light got free? No.
You gave us all this light, buddy.
Damn your wretched blessing! The world and every life upon it! Our assassin must never get out the past! By his grace will darkness reign over all! Death comes from her service! I shall build our kingdom upon your bones! You have no power over me!
No comms, of course. I never get comms.
Will not yield. Should I surrender this fight, what will become of it all? What will become of our dreams? Our desire?
Enough, damn you!
Such infernal strength!
It's an axe.
Remember. Remember us. Remember that we once lived.
It's over. Emmett Selk is no more.
More importantly, how do you fare?
What dost thou see?
His ether. It is as it used to be. As a disciple of Zodiac, the Ascian was the darkness to your light. I can but assume that when you set your strength against his, the light within you was spent.
No, it's more than that. Under the strain of that incredible flood of ether, your soul had begun to break apart, yet now it seems somehow restored. I tried to help you before the battle, but Emmett Selk stopped me. So, how did you... exactly what did you... Can you tell us what happened?
Yes, never forget Ardbert. Seriously, never forget. Because if you think about it, he's with us now, going forward. Literally a part of us. This also means in lore, we are now even stronger than we ever were before. Because we are more complete, exactly.
I see.
Where to start? I believe I owe you all an apology. And you, most especially.
Yeah, Urion J. I'm gonna go with the third option.
Well,
'Tis good to be awake.
Those 2 pluses are just codifies. But I think those are both valued codify. I absolutely am going to codify those. And yeah, I figured that's what...
Souls dove straight into the ocean over there.
I figured that's what Amarant really looks like right now.
See from here was the whale, Master Chai.
'Twas surely Alphino and those friends of his. They did something heroic, mark my words.
Never change, Julia.
You need only look up there for proof of that.
As you say, my love. They're sure to be back any moment now.
Well, Sonic Doctor, in the interest of fairness, this had very few story negatives. Being honest, all 3 previous expansions would also have story negatives. Heavensward the least, but Stormblood would have quite a few, and so would ARR. So
Coming back, aren't they? I couldn't bear the thought of...
I mean, this feels like comparing WoW Pandaria to WoW Wrath, you know?
There, look! Over there, over the beach!
And credits. That's the point, Niscosta. Sorry, let me make that more clear. I consider Pandaria to be superior to Wrath. I do. Wrath has some good story points, but a lot of story negatives. Pandaria has a lot of story negatives and few, or excuse me, a lot of story positives and few story negatives. No, we're still on the first, Venters. I remember Urianja can't swim. He'll be fine. Thank you, Frank Chiappa. I hope you've enjoyed.
I didn't think we'd be swimming the whole way back.
Why did we? We can literally teleport.
Heavens. Take me.
Oh, I'm well aware, Hazardous. And all I can do is roll my eyes. Oh yeah, we're not even close to done. The way these games work, every time you hit the credits, it's just like a huge cutscene. Like the ARR cutscene was like 45 minutes. Seriously, 45 minutes of just watching cutscenes.
He must have fallen behind.
But shouldn't we look for him?
He'll wash up sooner or later.
You can teleport.
For the love of Alphino!
Welcome back, dear ones!
Off and on, Valvedrix.
And thus did salvation come to the first.
Oh, I don't know, Sonic Doctor.
The lamps of Amarot will fade along with Emet-Selk's enchantments, and the depths shall be as once they
Your
were.
dedication will be rewarded.
That's actually my healer gear. My actual healer gear.
Mount Gulg will one day fall, and the Talos below yield to wind and rain.
Now, I'm not going to get a pause chance, so I just want to say right now, thank you very much, Dunkawanka, for the donation. Much appreciated, and I'll put that towards...
This tale, too, will fade with time, passing into legend as the world heals and moves on.
Towards Assassin's Creed Unity. Thank you very much.
Nevertheless,
I love how they have 4 voice actors for each character, by the way. I wonder what the other 2 languages are. Poor Urianger. Ah, French and German. That makes sense. Wait, I said the other 2, yeah. I'm pretty sure Hiroki Takakashi is doing the Japanese voice acting.
Obeys the cycle, as death and decay gives way to new life.
Ardbert, also known as one of the best characters in this expansion.
So too do the memories we share inspire others to rise to greatness. For we who walk before may lead those who walk after.
I mean, I did give 3 positives to Emmett.
Your road goes ever on, as does your story, as does your legacy. Such is the hero's lot, to touch the lives of countless others.
Excuse me? You're the Warrior of Darkness, aren't you?
Oh my god, I can pause the cutscene. Holy crap. I'm free! I'm free! You know, I was actually thinking, and I don't know, obviously I'd have to go back through it, but Stormblood might actually literally be a net negative on story. Ugh. I'd have to actually think about that, though. Because there's not a lot of parts of Stormblood I enjoyed story-wise, and there's quite a few parts I didn't enjoy. Before I continue here. There we go. Another plus to story. Alright.
Where are you from, really? And how did you get to be so strong?
I ate all my vegetables. All of them. I mean, preference is preference. I just didn't care for Stormblood. It wasn't interesting. That's why I say it'd probably be net negative, rather than I hated it because it's awful. It's just, there were very few things I actually liked in Stormblood. Oh, thank God I can skip. Thank you, God. Alright, so, now to keep playing. But yeah, like Stormblood would probably be... Let me just think off the top of my head. Give me a second. I'm thinking 2 pluses to story that I can think of off the top of my head. And... three to 4 negatives, give or take. That's just off the top of my head, of course. Oh yeah, he's dead and totally not coming back in a patch. He's probably coming back in a patch, let's just be honest with ourselves. I didn't dislike Lise as much as many other people did, but Lise would probably still be a negative for me. Just 1. I knew the Knights Blessed were among the revelers, aye, but the Crystarium was so crowded I thought it safe to speak my true name. Poor Runar and his ilk were gripped with panic. As you may recall, 'tis customary not to reveal one's names outside of family and ceremony. Yet I hurried to explain all present were like family, and I was greeted with an outpouring of tears. An emotional people, the Blessed. The storyboarding? What do you mean? Oh, okay. I get you. I get that. Yeah, I feel you on that. It's funny. I actually was thinking to myself, and I don't know if they did this on purpose, that it felt like a turn-based encounter. Just happening in lore rather than in combat. And then your turn. And then your turn. It would seem I don't know my own limits. I thought to push on till dawn, but my body had other plans. Still, I did enjoy carousing while it lasted. Even I forget my cares now and again. What I don't need is to wake Alphino smirking up at my bedside. He said my face was a rare sight while I slept. God, I hope I wasn't drooling. It would seem the city celebrated long into the night. Not that I would know. As embarrassing as it is to admit, I woke to find myself in the infirmary, apparently having collapsed from exhaustion. My aching pride has somewhat soothed by the sight of Alice asleep in the bed next to mine. She must have been just as weary. Long has it been since I've seen her face so peaceful in repose. 'Twas rare, a tranquil morning, made unforgettable by the sight of those clear blue skies. The ending to this tale has been a joyous one indeed. Myriad were the lessons learned, yet there is one of particular import. Yeah, we still don't have a way to get home, by the way. That's an unsolved problem as of now. I just feel like reminding everyone. There's also the unsolved problem of the rest of the planet. But that's probably going to be patch content. Anyways. 'Tis imperative that I master magics to grant my feet purchase on the water, or else allow me to part the seas at will. I must needs visit Bismarck in due course and scrub his teeth in thanks. Mayhap the airy arts of the fairy whale might be imparted to mortal men. We shall see, we shall see. People came from malms around to join the festivities, but most seem to have stumbled home by now. Even so, I dare say Norvrant will echo the sound of clinking mugs for some while yet. I thought to indulge in a little revelry myself last night until Urianger began to list all the names of my drunken conquests. I ended up drinking water. Water! Oh, Laura, are you well? No ill after effects? To my eyes, you seem completely healed. It really is a miracle. No, that is a sacrifice, is what that was. Speaking of happy surprises, I was amazed to see the crowd you greeted on our return. I hadn't realized how many people we'd met along the way. Did you see their smiles? Right then and there, I vowed to do whatever I could to keep that joy from fading. But yeah, it is worthy of note that we are actively at war with a hostile power being run by Elidibus, who is the only one left, by the way, of the 3. Although, quick thing, I didn't want to comment on it during the fight because I was paying very careful attention to be as good of a healer as I could, even though I failed twice. I made 2 mistakes in that fight, and it pissed me off, but anyways. You'll notice how the sheer quantity of the other masks. Obviously, we've had the core 3 Ascians since forever. La Habrea, Elidibus, and Emmet. Or Hades, if you prefer. How many hundreds of other Ascians did they gain and lose over the centuries to have that many masks? Just think about that. Anyways. Here. pound. There you go. Thank you, Valvedrix.
By your deeds has the blinding light been banished from these skies, and the Sin Eaters driven to retreat. Although our many hurts will be years in the mending, I have faith that this world and her people will one day be whole once more. With no rejoining in prospect, the Source need no longer fear the coming of an 8th umbral calamity.
I mean, we still have to deal with the gas, the Black Rose. That is still an ongoing problem.
And with that triumph, the future from which you came will no longer come to pass. Yet here you still stand.
Yeah, Time Traveler's Exemption Clause. We've talked about this.
So I do. I wonder if that other age continues onward somehow, cut adrift from time's flow. Or have I simply etched myself a place upon this new block of history?
So, he literally just said, I wonder if it's Type 3 time travel, multiple timelines, or Type 2 time travel, malleable timeline. And he just asks that so overtly. I'm going to stick with my theory that it's Type 2, by the way. Everything I've seen has indicated that so far, and not just the fact that I'd prefer 2 over 3.
Either way, this is an unexpected development. As the summoner of your souls, my death was meant to release you back to your world. Yet I am very much alive, and you are still stuck here in the First.
Yeah.
I believe I speak for us all when I say that we are happy to postpone our return if it means your life is spared. We will seek out another way.
I mean, time to kill the Exarch. I do have to say, though, Bragwin is very valid in her point. Remember, their bodies are still back home, and extremely vulnerable. In fact, we already know that Elidibus is actively planning to kill their bodies back home. And we don't have any great defenders back home at the moment. Like, we got Kryl and Lys, and a few other handfuls, and that's kind of it.
Besides, I never had any intention of rushing home. There are people here I still need to thank, and this means I might actually have time to do so.
Yet we dare not neglect our comrades in the Source.
Oh, I didn't even mention Estinian and Gaius, although I suppose they could decide to defend us if they wanted to. No, I never did a review of Stormblood Miriam, so. But I agree with the Mega Legion. Hoary Boulders got her back.
Mistress Tataru, to name but one, will be most anxious to know how things stand with us.
I mean, remember, in lore, I can send messages back. I got this, guys.
So, you'll just have to make the journey alone for the moment. Be sure and give a full report to our fellow scions, would you? Oh, and we'd also appreciate any news you can bring us from back home.
Then I see no reason to delay. I can open the path from here.
I would be so pissed, Rax. One of the things I hate most about time dilation, and this is going to sound weird, is how much despair it invokes within me. How many of you have seen Interstellar? I don't want to spoil anything. Imagine for a moment, I don't have to spoil anything to give you a hypothetical. Imagine for a moment that you walk out the door, go to work, and come back and it's been 50 years. Just for everyone else, not you. That's time dilation in a nutshell. And think about that. Seriously, think about that. Process the loss of decades of horrible, of just, it is a truly nightmarish concept. And I admit that is one of the biggest reasons I don't like time dilation, because it evokes actual despair within me. I would also argue, that has nothing to do with the reason why I gave the negative, by the way, because the negative was solely for the plot conveniency nature of it and the fact that it didn't seem to mean anything to begin with. But yeah, the endgame problem. No comment, Hazardous.
I imagine we each have matters demanding our attention, so let this be a farewell for us all. Send word when you've resummoned our friend. Oh, and do try to ensure he arrives within the city next time.
Of course. I shall strive for utmost accuracy. No strange forests or unplanned passengers, I promise.
I mean, I know... The Weeping Angels are one of the most interesting forms of vampires I've ever seen. And I mean that sincerely. They are literally life vampires.
I'm a little relieved, to be honest. I would have been terribly lonely if everyone had suddenly disappeared. But I understand that you have to go. Safe journey, warrior of darkness. I hope to see you again soon.
I am glad you're enjoying it, Cord. I hope you're enjoying your playthrough in general. Yeah, I've had enough despair in real life. I don't want it from fiction, Leander.
Just a moment while I attune the portal. Then you can be on your way.
Yeah, someone asked about the Weeping Angels, Hazardous.
When I was a boy, many long years ago, I yearned to stand tall as the heroes of Eld. But like a fool seeking to pluck the stars from the heavens, my every attempt to reprise their deeds fell short. And then one day, an all but forgotten dream from my youth stood before me in the flesh. A hero who looked at the horizon and beyond and saw I knew not what. All I knew was that I would give anything to stand at that hero's side. Would that it was so easy. The glory of the heavens was ever beyond the grasp of those who never thought to reach for it. But if I have gained anything from all of this, it is the courage to stretch out my hand. Do you hear me, Grahatia? This is no time for sleeping.
I mean, I barely remembered him from Crystal Tower. Like, obviously I knew him, but he made no real impact on me, you know what I mean? He's a far more interesting character here. Meanwhile... Damn it, Gaius, what are you up to now? I see Xenos has been busy. A log in nobility, Sakage.
To the west gate. I want to know what's happening there.
Same as the others, struck down with a single blow. An unfortunate day to draw guard duty. Forgive me. These were your people.
We took advantage of this slaughter to slip into the palace. 'Tis not for me to grieve them. That was the Emperor!
Wait!
I mean, it's not like Xenos has ever given a damn about his own people. Or anything. That's kind of the point of his character, really. He was bored.
Uranians!
Gaius, you've missed your part in this, I'm afraid.
Identify yourself, demon!
You were hoping for the Ascian? The Craven shed this skin and fled, rather than face me. A pity. I was looking forward to crossing blades with myself. But I cannot deny the feeling of satisfaction. Body and soul reunited at last.
What now? The game continues, but the pieces have changed.
Only if we trust in a paragon's words. A mistake I do not intend to repeat.
Side note, of all the gunblades in the game, Gaius's is my favorite cosmetically.
Gaius!
He speaks the truth. Elidibus is gone. Tore a hole into the rift. Xenos, my foolish, greedy son. Was a second life not enough? Was the Empire too rich a prize to ignore? True freedom for our nation, our people, will never be won by a spoiled princeling. The burden of this throne is beyond you.
Do you not know your own son? I doubt he gives a damn about the throne.
Tis you, father, who have struggled with this burden. Simply holding the Empire together has occupied your limited faculties. But you may take comfort in knowing that I have no intention of pursuing your tedious agenda. Nor am I interested in ruling over the Empire's lands. I came only to remove that which ruins my sport. I will not have my prey stolen by your petty wars and cowardly weapons.
You would kill me just for that.
I need no other reason. Any and all who interfere with my hunt
Will not do so twice!
I heard the Ascians speak of Zodiac and Eidolon. Even the will of this star is but a construct of our own making. We shall gorge upon their strength, and then, my friend, Our contest shall begin anew.
Xenos!
Well, that sucks. Where the hell am I? Oh! Ah! I'm at the Crystal Tower. Pray return to the Waking Stones. Type 1, Jay. Which is time is a linear line. Oh, right. I'm supposed to go back to the Exarch real quick. Hang on. Since I can do that. In lore, I heard someone compare Emmett to Xenos by saying they were basically opposites. Maybe that's why I like Emmett so much as a character. I know. Opinion is opinion. Ooh, rain. I just don't like Xenos as a character. I never have. He is still better than Ranjit. But... yeah. I mean, that's not saying much, you know. At least Xenos always felt like an actual threat. Ranjit never did. Lore? I thought you'd return to the source. Heavens forbid something went awry with the spell. All is well, then. I am relieved to hear that. Oh, okay. I will say one and only one thing in favor of Xenos. I've often been fascinated with the concept of someone who is basically outside of the circle. When you no longer care about the trappings of the system, you can do things other people can't. This is one of the great benefits of the Joker when he's written correctly. The Joker doesn't care about money or power or position or fame or whatever. He's over here, outside the circle. Someone like the Penguin would be in here. Or someone like, all the Mafia bosses would be over here. But the Joker's out here. And that is kind of what Xenos is. He doesn't give a damn. He doesn't care about the Empire or the war or power or anything. He just cares about his fight with us. And that is the one positive thing I'll say about him storytelling-wise. Hey, Tataru. How are things? How long has it been? First question. What day is it? Tataru. Lore? Is it really you? But how? We didn't think you'd be back for ages. How long has it been? Would you rather I went again? Oh, don't be daft. I just can't believe you're actually back. We heard good news from your pixie friend, but nothing compares to seeing you in the flesh. And how long ago was that? As for the situation on this side, the Imperials are still eyeing our forces from afar. From what I've told, the Garlean armies have been slow to react and seem reluctant to commit any large-scale engagements. It's an odd sort of stalemate. God dang it, Valorix. Otherwise, we've yet to see any sign of that awful Black Rose weapon we were warned about. Oh, I suppose we did call an old friend to help on that account. Kryl and I had a terrible time tracking him down. That'll be worth it to see your look on your face when you find out who it is. Yeah, it's Estinian. I get it. I've seen the cutscenes. Anyway, I was just about to make contact with a helper of ours and then confirm the latest news from the front. Might you fancy having a rest while I do? Ah, the Warrior of Light back where he belongs, as if nothing happened, though you do seem different somehow. Yeah, I have more of my soul. You'll have to tell me all about your adventures when we have a spare moment. Until then, welcome back. Thank you, Tatara. You are, as ever, awesome. By the way, I'm Tataro the 25th. No! Stab. So, hi, Elidibus. The only one left. Oblivion has claimed him. And I am not voice acted. Emmett Selk, gone. La Hebrea, gone. I alone remain, the last of the unbroken. Once more, I am moved to reevaluate the potential of these tattered souls. Ah, Xenos. Never did I dream you could overpower me so completely. Because Xenos is just super powerful for some reason. Possessed as I was of your body and all its uncanny strength. Now that I have shared with you the truth of this world and its reflections, who can predict how events will unfold? Not I. Emissary. What a poor jest that title has become. The flow of history has become muddled, its currents wild beyond my capacity to direct them. Oh yeah, he literally hangs out on the moon, by the way. You have wrested the advantage, Heidelin. The thieving hands of your disciples tighten their grip on our star. The origins of the world remain hidden, and its inhabitants grow ignorant of their broken existence, just as you and your creators desired. They celebrate the gift of imperfect life, uncaring, unknowing, as we weaken and fade. But do not imagine yourself rid of us. Though your champion has indeed proven the most egregious obstacle to our ascendance, a barbed thorn in my side, he may yet be removed and cast into the abyss. In the Eden Raid. No, sorry. Oh yes, it can be done. I will keep these heroes mired in the first, and victory will be ours at the last. Worries of darkness now, are they? Then their fate is decided. They shall meet the same end as those who came before. Death at the hands of the warrior of light. I like his robe, consequently. It's probably my favorite Ascian robe. Meanwhile, so this is what the world looks like beyond. Seems you were right. Yes, there is something out there, and its name is Eden. But it would mean crossing malms and malms of infernal emptiness, which is rather unhealthy for living creatures, as I understand it. Even were we to restrict ourselves to brief forays, I don't like to imagine the effect it would have on our ether. At least you could travel out into the light now. But you still want to go, don't you? We may have saved the world, but we haven't reclaimed it. Yeah, you haven't fixed it. That's what the Bastion's for. And you put it that way. What choice do we have? Well, of course I'm going with you. That's what family's for, isn't it? Come on, let's head back and prepare for this mad journey of yours. Thank you, Thancred. I do like that visual presentation of the world bathed in light. Almost completely uniform. And incredibly barren. Oh my god, it is Eden, isn't it? Though blazing skies give way to gentle night, what hand can end the war of dark and light? You have completed the main scenario quest. You may now repeat previously completed main scenarios with a party member avatars. Avatars will gain exp and level up according to their duty participation. For more information, please refer... What? Furthermore, bolstered by your experiences in the first, you are now able to accept new quests from job-related NPCs in the source. In order to access them, you must reach level 80, complete the relevant level 70, and complete the associated role. Quest locations, other objectives, blah 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 blue. In addition, quests to unlock new content have been made available in the Questarium. Rest well. 2 worlds of adventure await your return. So what you're saying is I have to level trusts now, to be slightly more accurate. The Warrior Nightlight. I like it. Ahem. But before we cut off for lunch... The Warrior of 3 a.m. Who the heck are you? To be continued. Oh god, it's Zero! Aw, it's unsellable. Okay, I'll use it then. Let's try that again. Unable to summon minion here. Fair enough, I might delete it. Oh, lore. What brings you back to the first? Another adventure, mayhap? What in the world is this? A gift from Tataru, you say? A mammoth inspired by a certain Archon, created to fund the expedition to the Cyrus Trench. Passing strange. I never had the pleasure of meeting Tataru. That being the case, I can only assume the idea for the subject matter came from another. Could have been Master Galuf or Kryl, perhaps? No, wait, Rambros. It must be Rambros. Behind his somber countenance there hides a playful streak. I can fair see him grinning as he imagines how I would react to stumble into this mammoth sometime in the future. If truth be told, I know not how to feel when I behold it, but if nothing else, it tells me they are well, Rambros and everyone, and for that I am glad. Okay. And now we cut off.